and couldn't defeat him, not even in death. So I've sort of been thinking about that a bit, and just contemplating that, and it also got me at the personal level, I guess, just thinking about, some of those things in the past which sort of comes back to haunt us in our thoughts from time to time, and then I just sort of think to myself, well, just had me thinking about the idea of like people sort of say, oh, you've got to let things go, or you've got to accept it, or whatever. And I think like for some of those things, which is all in all of our past, I think it's not so much about letting it go or even just accepting it. I think it's just, as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, it's just focusing on the here and now. When your mind starts to drift back a bit, just be aware of it, but come back to now. And I think it sounds like a very, very simple sort of solution, and one that probably takes a bit of practice and attention and all that sort of stuff. But for me, there just seems to have a much more authentic ring to it, rather than a lot of that sort of trite new age stuff where it's like, oh, if you just let it go, like, I'm not even sure what that means. Like, what does it mean to let it go? So.
Yeah. I think I could, from my perspective, to let it go, I just say I am, okay?
Yeah, you just come back to now.
Any word that is relevant, but that one is just, happens to be, hit the target when it was said to me weeks ago. So, yeah, now, and so what does letting go means? I am, and so, aha. Aha, okay. It's, I'm going off at a tangent with my thoughts and my thinking, and hey, I'm criticizing somebody, or I'm judging somebody, or I'm allowing that to be my pleasurable experience, and I want to have some more of that. But by saying I am, I bring myself to the here and okay, and I do what I'm doing. That's why I said a moment ago to you, I enjoy the work that I do. Okay, let's call it work for the sake of a word. Okay, but the work that I do online, and so I get focused in that, and on that, then I actually don't think. Okay, other than for the researching, thinking, those old Egyptians do-da-dee-da, or I've just done one on modern travel and future travel, and so your mind is focused on that, okay, and then it tries to, you sort of sit back and you start thinking, oh my God, I'd forgotten so-and-so's birthday, and I am, okay, okay, I'll send him a belated birthday wish, okay, and that's it. So I think that's what letting go, Don. Can you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, letting go, I don't know. Like, maybe to try and illustrate the point, like, because part of the, passion story, and I think if we use our imagination and try and put ourselves into the scene, just sort of thinking about, like Peter, like, so Christ said to Peter, like, before the cock crows twice, you will have denied me 3 times. And he's like, Peter being Peter, was always first one out of the boat and all that sort of stuff, So he's like, no, not possible, don't be silly, rah, 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 But then but then, you know, it happened. And then when it came to his realization, you know, he wept bitterly and so on. And I sort of thought, like, just in my imagination, sort of thought, well, like, how on earth does he deal with that? Because, like, you know, having the living Christ in your presence and having that realization, and then doing, you know, virtually the opposite of what, you know, was called of you and so on. That would be an incredibly difficult thing to, in my mind anyway, to come to terms with. But notwithstanding that, like, you know, he then went on to, need to check your muffins?
Quickly.
Yeah.
Just quickly, all right? Don't lose the thought, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, they're looking all right. I think I must just repeat this 15 minutes. Well, hang on. How long did I put it on for? What did I tell you when you? I forgot how long. Oh no, 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to have to just poke them quickly, Don. Just
Okay.
hold. And let them just do 5 minutes more. I think it's just a little bit damp. I'd like them a little bit harder. Sorry, this is damn rude of me. I'm so sorry.
No, no, of course not.
Okay, so then the next time I'll just get up and switch it off, and that's and open the oven. That will be it. Okay, so, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was saying that, you know, like putting in my imagination myself into that scene where, you know, the Peter passionately says, "I know, like, you know, I would never deny you, blah blah blah." But and the other part of that is no doubt in my mind that those couple of instances when someone said to him, "Well, you know, you were with him and you were one of those guys or whatever," and he denied it, and then a second time, well, I'm sure that happened a lot more than just those two occasions. Like, you know, small town, lots of people, big event happening, all that sort of stuff, you know. And then to apply that sort of mindset then is, well, like, how do you live with that? Or do you live with it, you know? And the fact that he went on, you know, as an apostle and did everything, you know, after that would infer pretty strongly to me that, well, he did what's the word?
Deny.
Oh, well, I mean, he did, but in terms of, you know, the deed that had been done, in terms of that denial, you know, whether he accepted it or whether he dropped it or, you know, however you want to describe it,
Yeah.
clearly it didn't hold him back because he went on to do, you know, lots of other wonderful things after that as an apostle. So the thing that was sort of exercising my mind is, like, in terms of, you know, I guess extremes, you know, that's, you know, doing that in the presence of the living Christ, you know, walking the earth in front of you, you know, it's like, how do you come to terms with that? And maybe it's like lots of things. Well, maybe you don't. But if you do, as you've been talking in the last couple of weeks about living in the now, then it has no hold over you because it's in the past. It's not here now. So you don't have to go back and revisit it and feel guilty or any of those other emotions. If you're just focused on what you need to do today,
Yeah.
in his case, with his apostleship, then that's all you need to focus on.
Yeah, I agree with you. And coming back to Peter and Christ, I think, how do you make that particular scene personal to us, to ourselves? Okay, is that really Jesus was saying, you're going to deny me, you're going to be, have thoughts about this, and then you're going to lie, for example. Okay, and so he lied. Okay, when the time came up, but so do we. Okay, okay. Our thinking lies. Okay.
And I think the other thing, though, like just in terms of putting yourself in the scene with your imagination, it and like when it actually happened, part of the scripture sort of says, and Jesus turned to him and looked at him. And I thought to myself, well, he clearly didn't look at him in a scornful way or with the look of, oh, you idiot, or anything like that. He obviously looked at him, with love, because love was the thing that conquers all of that darkness. That's love is the light. So I think also if you then embrace that when you are in the I am, mindset or focus, and using love as the fuel for your presence as I am, it makes us equally as powerful in that sense. In that, the good, bad, or the ugly in our past doesn't inhibit what we're now focused on. And case in point, that you're doing these classes now better than you ever have. And you continue to strive to do them even better every time you go about it. So I think that for me is case in point. Like that's truth in action. So
yeah.
But apart from that, I haven't really been thinking about much at all.
Yeah.
But like you, though, I do find the contemplation so nourishing in the sense that, sometimes just sitting quietly with it, just listening, sometimes using my imagination to put myself into the scene, sometimes posing questions. I just find all of that form of contemplation so refreshing, and so nourishing in that sense. Go tend to your muffins.
I'm just going to turn the oven off. So, I find a lot of things, and I mentioned it or I alluded to it last week. Things are changing for me. Things in my life, my day-to-day life, everything. My habits are changing. My types of thoughts that I have are changing,
Changing for the better. Is it like, can you make that sort of qualification to it, or just changing?
Well, I think in some instances change for the better, but also just changing. I historically, as you well know, I used to paint quite a lot. Okay, I haven't picked up a paintbrush for years. Okay, and I used to read on a daily basis, and I don't read on a daily basis anymore. So things like that, okay, and I seem to spending most of my time on the research and not on Get Set Up, but on what perhaps they stand for, I guess, or what I do for them. And I really enjoy that. There's a feeling inside me that is joyful. So I can, I get up after 5 sometimes, whatever time in the day, and then I go to bed before 10, and I go to bed happy. Okay. Whereas historically it was ups and downs, and I used to blame the moon, and I used to blame what I ate, and and it doesn't happen anymore. So, have you noticed any changes in yourself?
Yeah, very much so. Similar in one sense, in that, I think, I think I've mentioned to you before that I, used to contribute on a daily basis to a forum, that gratefulness forum.
Yeah.
And then, I sort of stopped and thought about it. I thought, well, why? Am I doing it out of habit, or am I feeling some sort of compulsion to do it? Or, does it make me happy when I do it,
Interesting, yeah.
And then I sort of actually, no, none of those things. And I thought, well, I couldn't put my finger on why I did. I mean, there is a sense of community in that forum, but I didn't feel that that would have to be the determinant as to whether I continued with it or not. I mean, I still look at it, but I don't feel that I have to respond to the daily question every day, because it sort of, at one level, sort of felt a bit inauthentic. It was just like, oh, you're just responding because, you think it's the best thing to do or right thing to do or whatever, not, that I genuinely think I've got something to contribute, So I just stopped doing that unless I have, a desire to contribute. So I don't do it on a daily basis anymore.
Right.
But similar to you as well, I just find stuff that used to fill my thoughts on a regular basis now doesn't.
Yeah.
I just,
likewise, yeah.
So, and even just little things like, when I'm in the car, I don't have the radio on. I'm just happy to drive in silence, so I don't need that background noise or anything as such, so
yeah.
So it is much more, when I read, like I like to sort of read at night time, but I don't sort of read like I used to read. I'm quite happy to, and I sort of got this from you a bit, and I'm just quite happy to read, even if it's only a page or a couple of pages or a few paragraphs.
Yeah.
And then just contemplate it, just think about it, and just mull over it and, try and envisage what the author's trying to tell me, and,
Yeah.
give it the attention that perhaps the author was seeking for it, So I'm sure he didn't just write the words and think, oh, well, with a bit of luck, someone will read this one day, So, yeah, so I'm just sort of savouring it rather than, reading 3 chapters before I go to bed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a different approach, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's, well, I guess it's a bit like, to use the analogy, it's just like chewing your food properly before you swallow it, So.
Interesting.
So no, it's and like you, there's a an underlying, joy and happiness associated with living like that.
That's great. That's great. I was hoping you were going to say that, because it's special that. And do you find there's been some sort of similar changes at your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I think so. In the sense that I don't get entangled in the day-to-day hurly-burly or the politics or anything like that. I just very much focused on doing what I need to do, and I think I'm a lot more effective. Like an indicator of that to me. Like I took the last 2 days off. Just mainly because I was tired. I've been working silly hours and that sort of thing. I just thought, I'm just going to take some time off for myself. And when I went back today, everyone's like, "Oh, so pleased to have you back," and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, but you felt okay to take 2 days off.
Well, I felt it was important because like if I'm not in a good place, how can I, serve others? And I think that self-care is just such an important thing that in my younger days in the corporate world, it was almost some sort of badge of honour that the fact that you were working.
That's right. Didn't take any leave.
And you're working ridiculous hours and all that sort of stuff. Where it's not a badge of honour at all. It's a badge of dishonour in the sense that you're not looking after yourself. So.
Yeah. I'm glad you took the 2 days off. On this coming Saturday, okay, we're going to use a Christmas present that Emma and her husband John in London gave us for a Christmas present, and that was a sort of half-day cruise from Perth down to Fremantle and back again. Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice.
Lovely. And we're going to do it. We just didn't want to do it in summer. Just
too hot. Yeah.
Absolutely too hot. And yes, you're sitting under some sort of cover, but it's still the air is just so damn hot.
So that's a cruise down the river, is it?
Cruise down the Swan River. The Swan River, the mouth of the Swan is at Fremantle, and I guess I don't know. Bothered. We just booked it, and that was it. I'm not sure if they stay there for any length of time.
Oh, so you're not sure whether you sort of get off at Fremantle and have some time there, or?
Fremantle is obviously not that far from us. Okay. Time to time we drive to Fremantle. Okay.
It's a lovely little locality.
Yeah, and we go when the market is on. Okay, it's only, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4 days a week the market is on, and it's a big market. Okay, of everything, all sorts. Have you ever been to it?
No. I've been to Fremantle, but I've never been to the market.
Yeah. So yeah, we like to sort of look around, and we've got our favourite little kiosk there where we have something to eat and drink, and it's like different from anywhere else. So yeah. So yeah, that and Sue then decided, well, she's got to go for a visa medical on Wednesday next week. The appointment is. So she said, well, I'm going to see if I can take Monday and Tuesday off as well as Wednesday. So and they've approved that.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah. So we've promised each other we won't work during those time off, other than just odd little things. And excuse me. So we'll do what we love doing, going to discover some more coffee shops and have a cappuccino,
Lovely.
Yeah.
Is the medical process very rigorous, or is it just,
No, it's quite vigorous. They cover basically everything, okay, including they give you a chest X-ray and
Oh wow, okay.
You go through a whole lot of different doctors, and then you land up with, I suppose you call it the head doctor in the, and she looks at all your tests and results and whatever happened with, and asks you the question. So it's quite hectic. But Sue's fit, and well, more so now that she's full-time working. But if I can pass, but she's passed historically without a problem as well. I mean, every time I've been she's had to be. This is the first time I don't have to go. I'm not doing the visa.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I hope that all goes well then.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a lovely few days together.
Yeah, it's super. We've, in the last year, we've really had no time off. Or Sue has had no time off. I have time off 24/7.
Well, you do and you don't. But time off in the sense of just doing something different, isn't it?
Yeah, that's doing something different. Yeah, something different that you enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I've got my garden these days into a state that it sort of looks after itself, and I do very little care other than watering, but somehow the mulch and everything I put on top, I don't know, weeds don't seem to grow through it. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and lots of indigenous plants. Look in them as I'm talking to you.
I think that's probably the secret, isn't it? Just having native plants in their own environment, and I think it sort of creates, because weeds normally come when it's out of balance, doesn't it? Really, that's So, your job as the gardener is to restore the balance, I guess, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and of course we have all the wild parrots and the bandicoots, and we've even got quite an interesting big rat as well that runs around. And
but like a native one, is it?
Like a what?
A native rat, is it?
I don't know anything about rats. Okay, I don't know. You say native. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you calling it a category or?
Oh no, like it's just like a native in the environment rather than, a
yes.
rat.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, and it's actually surprised to hear myself saying this. It's actually quite beautiful. Okay, it's like a sort of a light brown gray, beautiful hair color. Okay, much lighter than the bandicoot, and yeah, it's got a tail that's twice as long as its body. Okay.
Wow.
Absolutely, it stopped here on the round. I could actually see it, but it's got beautiful head and features and ears. Okay, just never had a chance to study a rat before. Okay. I first thought it was some sort of other type of family of the bandicoot or something, but no, it's clearly a rat. And it's also interesting, Don, that when I first spotted in the garden good few weeks ago, my first impulse was to kill it, poison it. rat's in my garden, okay?
Mm.
Get into my roof and it'll, annoy and keep me awake and, rest. And I stop myself. I am, okay? What's the difference between a rat and a bandicoot and a parrot?
Or a snake. Yeah.
Or a snake, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few snakes in the garden too. Tailless lizards as well. Big things, big fellows. And I've enjoyed all of them, except for that moment when I first saw the rat.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
Condition.
Shouldn't be here. And I guess when you sort of look at it, maybe it's standing on a foundation of fear or something like that. Maybe, I'm not sure.
But I mean, a rat is something, I don't know, historically you build up a belief system, whatever that is, that it's maybe...
Yeah, they've had a pretty bad rap over the years, haven't they?
Sorry?
So they've had a pretty bad rap over the years, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, same with snakes, like that. I can remember as a kid, like I think it was my father or someone, I don't know who it was, but someone said, the only good snake's a dead snake. You think, oh, okay. But clearly that's not the case. I mean, so.
Yeah, fortunately, I grew up on a farm and my father never killed the snakes. So no, I never have a fear of a snake. But come to think of it in the terms of this conversation, I've always said, and I guess I've got to stop saying that, but I've always said I don't like spiders. Okay. Why? Okay. I've come face to face with the biggest spider I've ever seen in my life here, and it wasn't far from my face. Okay. And it's as big as my two hands. Okay. Okay. And that was a shock to my system as well. But I walked away from it out of self-defense, I thought. It turns out not to be poisonous or anything like that.
No, but I think that's like, for me, it was like the snakes are like there's a brown snake. It's the second most venomous snake in the world, rah, rah, rah. But it's not until you understand them that they've got no desire to interact with us. They're quite antisocial. It's like, leave me alone, get out of my way. Not even get out of my way, let me get out of here.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of people get themselves into trouble. It's like, oh, I've got to go and kill it. And then naturally it wants to defend itself, So
Yeah. And I'm sure it picks up your fear as well.
I'm sure it does. Yeah. Yeah, well, most animals do, don't they? They're pretty good at sensing fear.
Yeah. So interesting. That's also part of the change that we were talking about a moment ago. Change towards a rat. I have a whole different take now on a rat.
What about the Department of Immigration?
I'll wait to see what happens with Sue.
That's right.
Yeah. But you could also ask me about Get Set Up, it's also changed because, as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, I now do things for Get Set Up. They don't even know about it. Okay. In other words, I'm changing the content of class for people that come in and watch. Okay. And I change the content because I enjoy changing it, and I enjoy having different classes, even if they want to call it the same and everything else. And so, whereas historically you and I both were quite negative towards get set. Okay.
Mm.
I think you on my behalf.
Well, I mean, it was a different iteration of Get Set Up, I guess, but yeah, it did treat you quite shabbily, that's for sure. But,
yeah. But now, you know, what were they doing? They were just reflecting me.
Mm, mm,
Okay.
mm,
So if I change,
mm,
then they'll change.
mm, mm,
Because that's, you know, every single person on the earth, as we said, it's just a reflection of us. Yeah.
mm. And I think that's that sort of, you know, that mindset, isn't it? Like in the corporate days, I used to say to people, like, you know, if the only tool in your toolkit is a hammer, then everything's going to look like a nail, you know. So, you know, so if you change your outlook, yeah, everything changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. But we don't try and change our outlook. We just start recognizing who we are.
Mm, mm,
That's what it is.
mm,
Like,
mm.
I think possibly the big thought for for today is the fact that we incarnate for one reason only, and that's to find out who we are.
Mm, mm.
Okay.
Who we really are. Yeah.
Who we really are. Yeah.
Mm,
Who we really are.
mm,
Okay. Yeah. And then we get sidetracked by our mind and emotions and
mm. Yeah, well, I think the human condition is we're master storytellers, aren't we?
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I guess we're finding out who we are. And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think our friend who's, you know, the last few videos has put comments on there. You know, I think one of the earlier comments, I remember him saying that when he encountered people, you know, I think he was asked, you know, had to paraphrase, he would sort of ask them, well, you know, how is it you do that sort of thing? And I think in one sense, you're not doing anything. Isn't it? Now, that's the sort of the irony of it. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I see you responded to him in writing. To one.
Oh yeah, the first one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had it. I think it was before last Wednesday. Okay.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah. I enjoy him responding, you know, and reading it.
yeah. No, it seems like a fellow traveller for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Does YouTube send you an email or anything when somebody
No, I just need to
got to go?
check in every now and again and just see what's going on. So
Yeah. 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 I probably check in once a week.
Mm.
Yeah.
Try not to be a slave to YouTube. But anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing in social media that I'm a slave to. Things. That's another thing that's just changed. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Mm.
You know, I open when I wake up at 5 o'clock. I open my phone. I turn it on because I know my brother would have sent me a message. Okay. He always does. He waits for me to go to sleep. Okay? then he sends me a message. Okay. So, and then he's a great Facebook man. So he might send me a link from Facebook
Okay.
And I just let it happen, you know. So yeah.
Well, send you a message in the sense of like on a fishing expedition sort of thing to try and get a reaction from you.
I think it depends what's on his mind at that time, because obviously they 6 hours behind us. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm going to bed at 10, then
Mm.
he's sort of still in the afternoon.
Mm.
And yeah, he picks up ideas and thoughts and shares them. And then I wait for him to go to sleep, and then I share my get set up recordings with him, which I know he hates like hell.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay.
I think they're too long for him, and they're an hour long, and I cover all sorts of stuff. Sometimes I hit the subject that I still don't know what he truly actually. I don't think he researches any, or not researches, even reads anything. Well, full stop, he doesn't read. So I don't know what he searches on television and so on. I really don't. I must actually ask him.
Well, I think that's the peril of some of that social media is just constant scrolling, isn't it? It's just
yeah. Used to be like that. Yeah. I posted a couple of your and my relevant sort of, I don't do it every time, but every now and again when I think we've had a good chat, some subject content, I posted on one of my, I landed up having 3 different accounts, but anyway, I found I can't close them. So, so yeah, and then I do it to see, how many people get respond, because obviously all the people who on Facebook call themselves friends or something, then they should get a copy of it that comes into their basket or whatever it's called in Facebook. But not a lot of response at all.
And that's fine.
Absolutely. I know. I agree. I mean, we're not doing it for a response, No,
well, I mean, that's the thing, and that's one of the.
It's great to have old Scotty, commenting.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, as you say, we're not doing it because we're chasing likes or comments or anything, really.
For sure. Anyway, that's probably a good place to leave.
Very good. Okay, then. Well, do you enjoy a few days with Sue next week? And
yeah, thanks very much.
Up the river?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll send you a picture.
That'd be good. Yeah. And so, will you be around next Wednesday, or?
No, we will be, because Thursday Sue starts work again, and
okay. Yeah. Well, just let me know anyway. So if you
know. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's assume that I will be, but I will let you know.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay then. Take care.
Cheers, man. Bye.